And welcome to This Week at the Movies. I'm Matt, and this week going to be covering one big release from theaters, and then I am going to be talking about my Oscar picks and predictions for uh, this year. It is hard to believe we have finally made it. The Academy Awards are actually tonight. Hopefully, you are excited about that. Hopefully, you're excited to see where things are going. I'm just happy that the 2025 film season will officially be wrapped up. It feels like it's taken too long. Hopefully, the Oscars are not this deep into March in future years. But before we get to the Oscars, let's talk new movies. And probably the biggest release of the week is Reminders of Him. This is another adaptation of a Colleen Hoover book. This one, the third of her books that has been adapted. We had It Ends With Us, which, feels like it's never going to end, at least the legal battle between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. And then last year in the fall, we had Regretting You, Dave Franco, Allison Williams, that one kind of a multifaceted romance story. This one, another, it's a romance, it's a drama. We follow a young woman named, uh, we follow a young woman played by Micah Monroe, who is just out of prison, clearly struggling with something pretty big and something pretty deep here. And she, her name is Kenna, and she is returning to the town where her crime took place. And it's kind of a difficult, weird situation. But pretty soon you learn that she has landed there because she wants to start over and get a job, because while she was in prison, she gave birth to a daughter who was taken and given to the parents of her biological father, who is now dead, and that is why she ended up in prison. So a tragic accident. What are some of the details of that? What really surrounds that? That's some of the things that gets teased out through the course of this film. She ends up connecting with his best friend, played by Tyreek Withers, named Ledger. The names in this movie were off the chain. Her daughter's name is DM, and I could not help but think that that was some kind of nickname. Having not read this book myself, I thought that was some kind of a nickname. Instead, it's DIEM, and why that was chosen as a name probably explained in the book, definitely not explained in the movie. But she is living, as I said, with her grandparents, played by Lauren Graham and Bradley Whitford, a couple of good, recognizable actors. You typically have seen Mike Monroe in horror movies. You think of It Follows, you think of Long Legs, you think of things in that genre. Tyreek Withers also has been kind of, in the last year, making it in horror. He was part of the rebooted cast of I Know What You Did Last Summer. He was part of the football-themed kind of horror film Him last fall, ironically playing an ex-football player who's returned home to his hometown after an injury ended his career. That did give me a little bit of a chuckle, also because it has a him in the title. But these are very different kind of roles. It was nice to see them get out and expand past that. They're past kind of the horror genre, and to do something a little bit different. This movie is really built and centered on Micah Monroe. I thought she did a pretty nice job here. Some very sturdy direction. I thought it captured the beauty of the settings and the nature, and really did some nice shots of these people in kind of building this story and teasing it out. Colleen Hoover helped adapt the novel with Lauren Levine. I think it all kind of gels into something that is actually pretty powerful at times, pretty emotional at times, especially in the third act, and pretty interesting, even though you know where it's going. If you saw a trailer, they kind of give away the entire arc of the movie. whether you've read the book or not. If you're a book fan, you're going to be even more interested into this. But I had a decent enough time. I'm giving this one a thumbs up. I've seen some people bagging on it and trashing it. Sometimes people just really don't like this kind of genre, but I think for this kind of genre and for the audiences that really appreciate these kind of films, it's going to work pretty well. Like I said, I enjoyed Micah Monroe. I liked this more than I thought I would. In terms of the Colleen Hoover adaptations, I've had a pretty good time with them. I still think Regretting You is probably my favorite. I liked the blend of comedy and what was going on in that movie a little bit more, but this one right up there. And then It Ends With Us, a very powerful movie. It's hard to think about it now and to separate it from the legal battles which have kind of dominated everything in the time since then. But we have another Colleen Hoover adaptation, a little bit of a darker one, more of a horror type kind of one called Verity, that is coming in the fall. But a lot of people very drawn to Colleen Hoover's books, and I think her movie adaptations have been very successful so far. Maybe kind of the new Nicholas Sparks. My wife and I talked about that a little bit, and there is some real Nicholas Sparks-ish qualities to this film. So I thought it worked well. I think you will enjoy Reminders of Him. So that's kind of the new movie that's out there. Thumbs up for that. I'll be talking about more movies next week, a couple of smaller movies that are coming out, streaming movies, and of course, Project Hail Mary and Ready or Not 2. But before I get out of here, it's time to talk Oscars. As I mentioned, the Oscars are finally here. I'm going to go ahead and give you all of my picks. We will see how we do here. Going to give them to you for all of the categories. Going to start with Best Casting. This is the new Oscar. Interesting field of nominees. I'm picking Sinners to get the win here. It won the Best Cast Award at the SAGs. Not that it's a 1-to-1, but actually we don't know what would a 1-to-1 for precursors would be, because this is a new award. Best Documentary Short, I'm going with All the Empty Rooms. This one, pretty tough, devastating film looking at the impacts of school violence and school shootings. Best Animated Short, I'm going with Butterfly to get the win. A very powerful film, a little film based on an interesting story. If it was up to me, I might have given it to Forever Green because that movie touched me, but I think Butterfly going to be the winner here. Best live action short. I know everybody's picking two people exchanging saliva. I didn't love that movie. I'm going with The Singers. I think that will get the win here. Best visual effects. Avatar: Fire and Ash. The movie's almost entirely visual effects. Does that give it a little bit of an unfair advantage? Maybe, but it also does pretty well with that as well. Best cinematography. This is a tough one. I think this could, I think this is coming down to One Battle After Another or Sinners. Personally, I really loved Train Dreams. I thought it was one of the best shot films of the year. Doesn't seem like it's in this. I'm going with One Battle After Another collecting this trophy. Best editing, I'm going with Sinners. Maybe gives you a little bit of a lean. I feel like the tides have shifted, and maybe Sinners making a move here. Best sound. I think Sinners would have been a great sound design winner here. It's a musical. It's a horror movie. There's a lot. But I think this one is probably going to F1 and will be probably the only win for F1 on the night. Best production design. Feels like Frankenstein really is going to pick up a few of these craft awards. So I think Frankenstein gets best production design. I think it gets best makeup and hairstyling. And I think it gets best costume design as well. And, a worthy winner in that some very interesting things done in that frame. There are some other films I would have considered, but I think Frankenstein probably picking up some of these craft awards for the look and the feel of what they created. Best documentary feature, I'm going with The Perfect Neighbor. This is probably the one people have seen the most. Potential upset from The Alabama Solution, but I think The Perfect Neighbor has it. And that was actually my favorite of the documentaries I saw in 2025 as well. Best animated feature, if it's not K-pop Demon Hunters, what are we even doing? That has become a worldwide phenomenon, picking things up. I think it's going to get the win there. Best international feature. I'm going with Sentimental Value. That is my favorite of the international features. I think it's definitely picking up some steam. Gonna grab that one. Wouldn't be shocked if The Secret Agent got in there. Both those films in the Best Picture nominee field as well. But I think Sentimental Value. This is the only place where I feel like Sentimental Value is a lock to win. Best original score, I'm going with Sinners, Lou Goranson. I think that is going to take that away. Best original song, interesting category. They're only performing 2 of these live, and I think one of those live performances is the one that wins the Oscar, and that is Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters. The song is a banger. It's been all over the radio. It has achieved some mass popularity outside of the film. I can't fathom it not winning. Best original screenplay, I think Ryan Coogler picks this one up for Sinners. And best adapted screenplay, I think Paul Thomas Anderson picks it up for One Battle After Another. These are the 2 teams that have been vying all the way along. Getting to some of the bigger awards, best director, I think this goes to Paul Thomas Anderson. He has won all of the kind of precursors and just did a masterful job. Ryan Coogler right there in this. There are some other, you could make a case for really pretty much any of the directors in there, but I think that is Paul Thomas Anderson. Best supporting actor, I went back and forth. I'm going with Sean Penn. He's been kind of a force this season. A villain role typically does pretty well. Could it be Stellan Skarsgård? Could it be Delroy Lindo? Neither of those would surprise me. It seems like Jacob Elordi and Benicio del Toro faded a little bit. I think it ends up being Sean Penn. Best supporting actress, another wide open category. If I was voting with my heart, it would be Inga Ibstadter-Lilius. I loved what she did in Sentimental Value. I thought that was a very powerful performance. Could also be Tiana Taylor, especially if One Battle After Another is continuing to surge. But I went with Wunmi Masako from Sinners. I feel like Sinners is surging. She got the BAFTA win. Did a really great job. Amy Madigan could also be the winner here for Weapons. This feels like perhaps the most wide open category. Wouldn't even be shocked if we heard Elle Fanning's name. So could be any of them. I settled on Wunmi Masako as my prediction. Best actress, if best supporting actress is the most wide open race, best actress feels like the most predictable race. Jessie Buckley has won all the precursors, gives a powerful performance in Hamnet. I think she gets the win there. Best actor. This has turned into quite a race. Another one that's pretty wide open. A month and a half ago, you probably would have said Timothée Chalamet was going to roll here, but some things have come together. Some things have not come together. I'm going with Michael B. Jordan as my pick for winner. I think Sinners is a rising tide and will lift him up. I think he gets a win here. Wouldn't be shocked to see Wagner Moura. Really wouldn't be shocked to see Leonardo DiCaprio. Again, we're going to start to see in some of these acting races and some of these other races, if the perception of the tide kind of turning for Sinners is really going or not. You may know kind of early, but you probably guessed from the way that I'm picking it that I am just feeling like the tide has turned, and I've been thinking about it for a long time. I am going with Sinners to win Best Picture, and an incredible film. Set a record for Oscar nominations. I don't think it's going to set a record for wins or come that close. If it did, that would be fantastic. That would mean that it's really sweeping up all those categories where we thought some other films were going to get some love and recognition. But I think at the end of the day, it ends up winning Best Picture in a few of these big awards too. So we'll see how it goes. One Battle After Another has been a favorite all kind of award season long, and that would certainly still be the favorite going into tonight. Would not be a shock, but something just tells me that we're going to get a little bit of a different result. So I am going with Sinners. So that is a wrap on this week at the movies for this week. Hope you guys have a wonderful time. Hope you have a wonderful Oscars evening. And I will be back next week with Project Hail Mary, Ready or Not 2, a couple of other films. So plenty to look forward to. Eric will be back as well, talking about Project Hail Mary. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Hope to see you next week. Until then, we'll see you at the movies.